Welcome to Seismic Sonics. Ridge Racer Type 4 marks the end of an era and the beginning of a new one, as this was the last game in this series to be released for the PlayStation 1. Through trial and error, it was also a first for the sound team, as the music of Ridge Racer took on a melodic, ambient, jazzy sound, also dabbling in edgy rock. Its previous hardcore club sounds were sanded down in favour of this soundscape. Its music featured breakbeat, acid jazz, and drum and bass rhythms that took centre stage. As the music was unconventional for an arcade racer at the time, its sound wasn't initially accepted by some within Namco. However, its 1999 release contradicted those stances and has since become one of the most distinct soundtracks from the series. Genres include electronic, ambient, acid jazz, drum and bass, downtempo, breakbeat, broken beat, house, and techno. The music of Type 4 was an amalgamation of music trends and styles at the time. The club and lounge scene was expanding internationally, as well as drum and bass, birthed from the UK's jungle sound. This also coincided with D&B's commerciality in the mid-90s. Jungle derived from UK rave culture, breakbeat hardcore, and Jamaican sound system culture in London, England in the early 1990s, with jungle originating in Jamaican sounds like ragga, dancehall, dub, and reggae. Black British youth found self-expression and introspection in jungle and took to the genre. Enduring the grueling socio-economic effects of the post-Thatcher era, this was an outlet for many. Hardcore and breakbeat also influenced jungle and its successor, D&B. Taking on a life of its own, mid to late 90s D&B began to incorporate darker and ambient sounds, and eventually hip-hop and jazz elements, with artists like Dillinger, Lemon D, and Ronnie Size doing so. I emphasize this as frustratingly, the origins of both jungle and drum and bass have constantly been whitewashed and or reduced to just video game music, which is an absolute insult to the pioneers and progenitors of the genre. Kota Takahashi's guitar work was inspired by metal and hard rock guitarists and bands. This includes Van Halen, Megadeth, and Metallica. An example of this is the music of Type 4 was composed by Hiroshi Okubo, Asuka Sakai, Kota Takahashi, Koji Nakagawa, and Tetsukazu Nakanishi, with featured vocals from Kimura Lovelace. Kimura Lovelace's soulful, harmonic, and beautiful vocals are featured throughout the OST, and they pack a punch, especially when watching the game's stunning opening and sleek ending credits.
With a silent stare, racing through the open air, he's without care. Everywhere you look, he's right on time. Moving to the beat.
Lovelace had songs featured within the top 10 of Billboard's Dance Club Songs charts at the time. Notably, her single Circles spent a week at number 1 on that chart in 1998. Discussing urban fragments in a June 2011 interview by VGM Online, composer Kota Takahashi stated, "I worked in tandem with the opening movie graphics team and composed based on my impressions of the sounds and images, with a structure separating silence and motion, keeping a strong link between the music and sound effects." Songs like Your Vibe highlight the smoothest sounds on the record. Curves, composed by Hiroshi Okubo, and Asuka Sakai, is an acid jazz number featuring breakbeat rhythms, lush electric piano chords, double bass flourishes, and piano riffs performed by Sakai, adding a freestyled element to Quiet Curves. Meanwhile, club-leaning songs like The Objective, composed by Koji Nakagawa, is an intense techno track. There's an ominous, atmospheric yet quirky synth lead that builds in crescendo. It's haunting and bright, yet sounds metallic in its timbre. Hiroshi Okubo was the sound director and composer for Type 4, and hence had the most composer credits. According to Asuka Sakai, the composers of Ridge Racer Type 4 initially struggled to receive acceptance for their contributions. She stated, "The music I composed for the Ridge Racer series didn't fit the game, and the first piece I composed, Quiet Curves, was altered afterwards by the director. It left a bad taste in my mouth. I was told that the section where the rhythm cuts out in the piece I wrote after that, Your Vibe, was not very game-like. I'm glad that the players noticed my music, and it is now recognized as game music." Contributing 5 tracks to the OST, Kota Takahashi stated initially that he had no knowledge about club music. Acid jazz, drum and bass, techno, it was quite difficult to take in all of these genres that are outside of my own tastes. It took trial and error. He found the game's sound director to be the gatekeeper to club sound hell, as Okubo rejected his initial compositions for not fitting the game's music direction. Takahashi would learn about tackling other genres from not only Okubo, but from other seniors within the Namco sound team. He also took the approach of senior Ridge Racer composers Shinji Hosoe and Ayako Saso and would visit Japanese clubs to get ideas for Type 4's club sounds. Speaking of Takahashi, his most renowned composition in Type 4, Move Me, incorporated such elements, fusing drum and bass, R&B, rock and techno. The track uses the drum and bass / breakcore staple, the Amen break, from the 1969 single Amen Brother by the Winstons. It's almost unrecognizable at first, as it's chopped, reversed, half-timed, and looped in tandem with heavy slap bass, synth arpeggios, smooth electric piano chords, and intense guitar shredding throughout. It's an amazing piece of work. Considering these were his initial attempts at drum and bass, it's impressive. With all of their contributions, trial and error, and intrigue, the soundtrack is sonically cohesive. The lack of reliance on overused rompler sounds compared to earlier Ridge Racer games makes this a piece of work that you can tell is of its time, yet sounds modern at the same time. just having a clear-cut vision, seeing it through, and despite what people may have thought was or wasn't game music, it was a hit. The fact that this soundtrack still holds up today, I love it. And I highly recommend it if you're into chill sounds, ambient sounds, breakbeat even. This is the soundtrack for you. What are your favourite songs from this soundtrack? Share them below. This was Seismic Sonics. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.